The pain was a white-hot spear driven through my wrist as I clenched the clinic's cool, brass door handle. Behind me, my stepfather, James, cleared his throat, a low, guttural sound that had become the ominous prelude to fear these past 3 years. "Remember what we discussed, Sophia?" my mother whispered, her voice a fragile flutter. Her eyes, wide and darting, ping-ponged between James's deceptively benign smile and my bruised face. It was a bicycle accident. Just clumsy. I was 22, stagnant in my childhood home, a master's degree dream slowly suffocating. That was my first mistake. The second, confronting James about gambling away my college fund, the last lifeline to a life of my own. "You ungrateful little snitch," he'd snarled last night, twisting my wrist until I heard the sickening snap. "Your mother and I can spend our money however we want." Now, sitting in the pristine, quiet confines of Riverdale Physical Therapy Center, I recited the carefully rehearsed lie. I fell off my bike, hit the curb wrong. Dr. Diana Keynes studied my intake form, her sharp, intelligent green eyes missing nothing. In her early 40s, she possessed an air of quiet authority that made even James, usually so self-assured, shift uncomfortably in his chair. "Interesting," she murmured, reviewing my X-rays on a sleek tablet. "You must have fallen at a very specific angle to create this particular fracture pattern." James stepped forward, all practiced charm and feigned concern. "Our Sophia has always been clumsy. Remember last year's incident with the stairs, honey?" I remembered. Just as I remembered the accident with the car door and the unfortunate fall in the shower. Each incident, a different excuse, followed by the same chilling mantra, "Family problems stay private." Dr. Keynes' expression remained neutral, but I saw a subtle flicker in her eyes, a spark of recognition, perhaps. "I'll need to examine Sophia alone." "Standard procedure." "That's not necessary," my mother began, her voice rising in panic. Dr. Kane cut her off, her tone firm, leaving no room for argument. "Actually, it is. Patient privacy regulations are quite strict here." Once they reluctantly left, Dr. Kane closed the door with a soft click and turned to me. Her gaze was direct, empathetic. "Let me guess. This isn't the first accident, is it?" I stared at my bandaged hands, mute. The lie felt like a heavy stone in my throat. "I fell off my bike." She pulled up another X-ray on her tablet. "This is from 6 months ago. Your emergency room visit for a shoulder injury. See these distinctive marks here?" She pointed to faint, almost invisible lines on the bone. "They're consistent with a specific type of trauma. One I saw frequently in my previous job." My throat tightened, a sudden, desperate hope stirring within me. "Previous job?" "Before opening this clinic," she continued, her voice low and steady, "I spent 12 years as a forensic specialist with the FBI, focusing on domestic violence cases." She set down the tablet, her eyes holding mine. "Sophia, bicycle accidents don't leave these patterns. But forceful wrist manipulation does." Tears welled up, blinding me. "You don't understand," I choked out. "If I say anything, it'll just get worse." She nodded, her expression softening. "I do understand. You're afraid. But I've already documented everything. And unlike the ER doctors who treated you before, I'm not letting this go." A sharp rap on the door made me jump. James poked his head in, his smile too wide. "Everything okay in here?" "Sophia tends to exaggerate her pain." Dr. Kane's smile was glacial. "Actually, Mr. Harrison, I need to schedule several intensive sessions. The injury is far more complex than initially reported." "That won't be necessary," he said smoothly, stepping fully into the room. "We can handle her recovery at home." "I'm afraid you can't." Dr. Kane pulled out a stack of forms. "These patterns indicate possible nerve damage. Without proper treatment, she could lose significant function." "I'm sure you don't want that on your conscience, Mr. Harrison." The threat in her voice was subtle, a whisper of steel. James's face darkened for a split second, a chilling flash of fury, before his mask of concern settled back into place. "Of course not. Whatever is best for Sophia." After they left to handle the paperwork, Dr. Kane turned back to me. "I have a proposition for you. I'm starting a new rehabilitation program at a residential facility. It's fully funded for 3 months. Stay? You mean, leave home? The words felt alien, exhilarating. She nodded. The Phoenix Project. It includes comprehensive therapy, physical and otherwise. It's very selective about its participants. I understood what she wasn't saying. It was a way out. My mother, I hesitated, the habit of protecting her deeply ingrained. Has made her choices, Dr. Kane finished gently. Now it's time to make yours. She handed me a card with her personal cell number written on the back. Day or night, if you need help, call me. When I left the clinic that day, James's hand clamped down on my shoulder. Nice doctor, he said, his fingers digging in, a possessive warning. Very thorough. But remember, Sophia, family problems. I finished automatically, the words hollow. Stay private. But for the first time, those words didn't feel like chains. They felt like a challenge. Because now, someone else knew. Someone with the power and willingness to help. That night, I lay awake, staring at Dr. Kane's card. From downstairs, the familiar symphony of my nightmare unfolded. My mother's pleading voice, James's angry, escalating responses. My wrist throbbed, each pulse a reminder of Dr. Kane's resolute words. I'm not letting this go. I thought about her specialized knowledge, her FBI background, the meticulous way she'd documented everything. She wasn't just a physical therapist. She was my chance at freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. First appointment tomorrow at 9. Come alone. Dr. K. I clutched the phone, my broken wrist cradled against my chest, and made a decision. James was right about one thing. Family problems should stay private. But we weren't family. And tomorrow, his carefully constructed facade of privacy would begin to crumble. What I didn't know then was that my fractured wrist would expose far more than just James's abuse. Dr. Kane's discovery was just the beginning of a truth that would shatter everything we thought we knew about my stepfather's past. The next morning, I arrived at my 9 a.m. appointment with a fresh bruise blooming on my shoulder, James's parting gift for coming alone. Dr. Kane took one look at me and locked the clinic door. Tell me everything, she said, leading me not to a treatment room, but to her private office. The words spilled out like a broken dam. 3 years of accidents, the missing college fund, my mother's terrified silence. With each revelation, Dr. Kane typed notes into her secure laptop, occasionally pausing to ask specific questions about dates and injuries, building a meticulous case. There's something else you should know, she said after I finished, turning the screen towards me. After you left yesterday, I ran a background check on James Harrison. The name he's using, it's fake. My stomach dropped into a black abyss. What? James Harrison supposedly appeared in your town 5 years ago. Before that, he didn't exist. However, when I ran his photo through my old FBI database, she pulled up another window. Meet James Hicks. Wanted in 3 states for domestic violence and financial fraud. The man in the mug shot was younger, harder, but unmistakably my stepfather. Does my mother know? I whispered, my voice trembling. I doubt it. He's careful. He picks vulnerable women with resources. Your mother's inheritance made her a perfect target. My head spun. The inheritance. My grandmother's money, received 2 years ago. The money that had mysteriously disappeared along with my college fund. Here's where it gets worse, Dr. Kane continued, her voice grim. Each of his previous marriages ended with the wife's accidental death. Both cases went cold for lack of evidence. Horror crept up my spine, a cold, suffocating dread. My mother, she's in immediate danger, isn't she? Just like me. She leaned forward. That's why I'm calling in a favor. Remember the Phoenix Project I mentioned? It's actually a safe house network run by my former FBI colleagues. We can have you there tonight. But my mother. Once you're safe, we can work on getting her out too. But Sophia, her voice softened, you can't save her if you're dead. A sudden, insistent knock on the door made us both jump. Through the frosted glass, I recognized James's chilling silhouette. He followed me, I whispered. Dr. Kane quickly closed her laptop. Back door. Now. My car is behind the building. Go. As I slipped out, I heard James's voice, thick with artificial concern. Looking for my daughter. She's confused about her appointment time. Mr. Harrison, Dr. Kane's voice was still, almost unnervingly calm. How interesting to see you. I was just reviewing some old case files. Perhaps you'd like to discuss them. I ran to her car, heart pounding, adrenaline surging. Through the clinic's back window, I saw James's face contort as Dr. Kane held up what looked like his mug shot. The next few hours passed in a blur. Dr. Kane's colleague, Agent Sarah Martinez, picked me up from a secure location. As we drove towards the safe house, my phone exploded with messages from James and my mother. Where are you? Come home now. You're tearing this family apart. The last one made me laugh bitterly. Family? We hadn't been a family since James arrived. The safe house, Havenwood, was a charming, converted bed and breakfast on the outskirts of town. 3 other women were already there, each with similar stories etched in their eyes. Lisa, the house coordinator, showed me to my room. The first few days are the hardest, she said kindly. But you're not alone anymore. That evening, Dr. Kane called with updates. She'd initiated an investigation into James's activities, focusing on the missing money and his true identity. My mother had been questioned by the police, but remained in stubborn denial. She's refusing to believe the evidence, Dr. Kane sighed. But we found something interesting in your old medical records. Those accidents you had, they follow the exact same pattern as his previous victims. It's like his signature. What happens now? Now we build a case. Your documentation will help protect future victims. But Sophia, she paused, a warning in her tone. James knows you're gone. Be careful. I ended the call and sat by my window, watching the sunset. For the first time in 3 years, I felt safe. But I couldn't shake the image of my mother alone in that house, with a man who had already killed twice. My phone buzzed with one final message from an unknown number. You can run, but families stick together. See you soon, sweetheart. I showed the message to Lisa, who immediately called Dr. Kane. Within minutes, security at Havenwood was doubled. As I lay in bed that night, I realized James was right about one thing. This wasn't over. But he'd forgotten something crucial. I wasn't that scared girl anymore. And now I had proof of everything he'd done. The fractured wrist that was supposed to silence me had instead given me a voice, and I intended to use it. What I didn't know then was that my mother had also received a message that night, one that would finally force her to choose between her daughter and the murderer sleeping beside her. 2 weeks into my stay at Havenwood, Agent Martinez burst into my room at midnight. Your mother's in the hospital. James tried to stage another accident. My heart stopped. Is she alive? Thanks to a neighbor. They heard the struggle and called 911. James had fled, but not before my mother, in her desperation, finally found his hidden laptop. Agent Martinez handed me her phone, showing photos of financial documents. They revealed everything: fake identities, stolen money, and detailed plans for what he called his retirement fund life insurance policies on both my mother and me. He was going to kill us both, I whispered, a chill of understanding running through me. But now we have him, Agent Martinez said, a grim satisfaction in her voice. Your mother's statement, the financial evidence, your medical records, Dr. Kane's documentation, it's over. Except it wasn't. James remained at large for 3 more agonizing days. 3 days of jumping at shadows, of doubled security at Havenwood, of watching my mother recover in a guarded hospital room. When they finally caught him, it was almost anticlimactic. He was at a bus station, a ticket to Mexico in hand. The arrogant smirk he'd worn for years finally cracked when they showed him the evidence. The trial came 6 months later. I stood in the hushed courthouse, Dr. Kane by my side, and watched as my mother testified against the man who had nearly destroyed us both. I was blind, she said, her voice stronger than I'd heard it in years. I chose to believe his lies because the truth was too frightening. But watching him hurt my daughter, she looked at me, tears in her eyes. That's a choice I'll regret for the rest of my life. James was sentenced to 25 years. The evidence from my case helped reopen the investigations into his previous wives' deaths. 2 more life sentences were added. 1 year after my first visit to Dr. Kane's clinic, I stood outside the building, running my fingers over my fully healed wrist. Ready for your final checkup? Dr. Kane appeared beside me, a warm smile on her face. Actually, I said, a broad grin spreading across my face, I have something to tell you. I've been accepted to medical school. I want to specialize in forensic medicine. Her eyes lit up. Following in my footsteps? Someone needs to help the next person who comes in with a bicycle accident, I replied. Inside, as she examined my wrist one last time, we talked about the changes in our lives. Havenwood had become a full-fledged support center for survivors, with Dr. Kane serving as its medical director. My mother, after months of therapy, was slowly rebuilding her life and our fractured relationship. You know, Dr. Kane said, a thoughtful expression on her face, when I left the FBI, I thought I was done with investigation work. But seeing you that first day, recognizing those injury patterns, sometimes our past prepares us for moments we never expected. You saved my life, I said simply. She shook her head. No, Sophia. You saved your own life. You just needed someone to remind you that you could. Later that evening, I visited my mother at her new apartment. The walls were covered with her vibrant paintings. Art therapy had become her salvation. I'm sorry, she said, not for the first time. I should have protected you. We can't change the past, I replied, hugging her tightly. But we can help protect others. She nodded at a canvas she was working on. It showed a broken chain transforming into a vibrant swarm of butterflies. For Havenwood, she explained. They asked me to teach art classes there. As I drove home, I thought about how a fractured wrist had shattered our silence, but rebuilt our lives. Dr. Kane's discovery hadn't just exposed James's crimes. It had shown us our own strength. My phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Kane. Got another bicycle accident coming in tomorrow. Want to assist? I smiled, remembering my own rehearsed lies from a year ago. On my way, I typed back, because sometimes the best way to heal isn't just to recover, but to become the help you once needed. My stepfather had been right about one thing. Family problems should stay private. But he never understood that real family, the kind we choose and build and fight for, doesn't need secrets to survive. Thank you for listening to this story from Echo Tales. If you were moved by Sophia's journey, please show your support by subscribing to our channel, hitting the like button on this video, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us bring more powerful stories to life.